Lerman's new version of The Great Gatsby has just hit cinema screens, but it's come out with decidedly mixed responses. This isn't the first time that an incarnation of The Great Gatsby has been put on the screen, with a lost version from 1926, one in 1949, the Jack Clayton version, the great Jack Clayton, but the rubbish 1974 version with Robert Redford, and now of course we have the 2013 Baz Luhrmann extravaganza that is The Great Gatsby. With all these mixed responses, some loving it and some hating it, the one thing that can come out of it is either have they finally got it right, or should they just give up on trying to adapt Gatsby to the screen now. Of course, The Great Gatsby is a great tale about the downfall of the American dream and the fact that the expectations of your dreams never actually meet the reality, which comes in handy when trying to explain the dreams of Jay Gatsby, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and the fact that the only dream he has is to be with Daisy Buchanan. The only thing is that he has to find a way to be with her. Now, what I said before going into the film was that Baz Luhrmann is the perfect choice of a director to do The Great Gatsby. And I apologise because I was so devastatingly wrong. The problem with Luhrmann is that he's a showman. He likes to put on the greatest show on earth. But Gatsby isn't about the greatest show on earth, it's behind the greatest show. And I think the issue is, when it gets to the quiet moments, it doesn't really succeed. And I think the problem is that Luhrmann just wants to steam ahead to the next party, and I think that's more or less what he's interested in showing. It's maybe kind of apt, as Mark Kermode put in his review, that Luhrmann first heard about the Gatsby, or first went through it as an audiobook on a train while drinking wine, because that's kind of the vision of the film, of being quite drunk and quite silly and stupid and falling over itself. And it's not that The Great Gatsby doesn't have its merit. As said before, Luhrmann is kind of like a showman. He wants to put on the most extravagant 1,000 fireworks all at once, go-go dancers all the way kind of show, and that's what The Great Gatsby in part had to it, that Jay Gatsby wanted to try and lure Daisy Buchanan in with these extravagant parties because what she was attracted to was money, for the most part. But with so much of The Great Gatsby going into a dance, or so much of it just watching, or Luhrmann wanting to just make us, the audience, watch these shows, it turns ever so slightly into a music video. But one of the stroke of geniuses with the film is its soundtrack, which has Lana Del Rey and Jay-Z and Florence and the Machine and XX, and it's a really interesting choice for a 1920s period film to an extent. But so much of their music, so much of American pop culture, so much of American cinema fits in with the ideas that are in The Great Gatsby, that it's actually an inspired and welcome change of pace to these types of films. The one perfect thing about The Great Gatsby is that the casting choice of Leonardo DiCaprio as Jay Gatsby is perfect. The fact that so much of Leonardo DiCaprio's career complements the life of Jay Gatsby, from coming from nowhere to the biggest star of Hollywood, and then we've got someone who starts from very little in a very poor rural area to become the poster boy for the American dream. One thing that tops it off is that Leonardo DiCaprio gets Jay Gatsby down to the T, and I mean the fine, tiny details which Luhrmann doesn't really get with the rest of the book. The very first time we see Gatsby, it's kind of surprising and special, and has that eternal reassurance that they say in the book, and that rare smile that you only see 4 or 5 times in your lifetime. Then some of the casting choices simply don't work. We have Carey Mulligan as Daisy Buchanan. The one thing to say about Daisy is that she's desirable. No man on earth wouldn't want to be with this unique lady. Carey Mulligan is missing that unique quality that makes the camera love her to an extent. Then maybe that's a good thing, that we can't really understand why Jay Gatsby wants to even be with Daisy, because in the book the one thing that is said about her is that her voice is full of money. Cannons are selfish people. They're all about money, and maybe that's entirely why she's attracted, and in extent Gatsby is attracted to her. But the one most excruciating thing about The Great Gatsby that makes it topple over itself immediately is the fact that it's a film obsessed with money. It's got the 3D, it's got the A-list stars, the A-list musicians, the A-list director, it's got this $120 million budget, and because of that the film needs to be a success. So every little tiny bit of symbolism that is so subtle in the book is basically just thrown completely 3Dified into your face. The green light is played out to maximum effect, where the point is we get it from the get-go. And then to do justice to the book, there's these tiny little moments that are in the book, which are played out in the film for exactly those tiny little moments. But they don't really add anything to the themes or the story of the film. But as Mark Kermode put, Luhrmann's version of The Great Gatsby is just a very, very thin version of Fitzgerald's very thin book to begin with. So adding in the element of a white chauffeur taking around black passengers doesn't really fit in well with the film at all. So everything that is either subtle in the book has two opposing forces in the film. It's either not given enough time or it's given way too much time and is shoved completely in your face. I generally conclude it has its merits, but it's an honourable failure at its absolute best, and I think people just generally need to stop their obsession with bringing Gatsby to the screen, because so much of its themes are already prevailing throughout American cinema, from Scarface to this year's Spring Breakers. If you liked this video, then you may want to comment below. If you really liked it, you might want to subscribe, and even if you really, really liked it and want to keep updated with all the recorded and written reviews, you can go over to Facebook, where there's a link below where all of my reviews are constantly updated on that page. If you know me already, you may be quite excited that I have a new channel. I'll not be leaving this one, but me and my friend Connor Taylor have collaborated on a new channel, imaginatively called Connor and Matthew. On this channel we do whatever we please, and we have many big ideas for this channel, but at the minute we are sticking with video game related content, mostly talking utter crap, playing COD Zombies and Minecraft. It would be really appreciated if you go over to that channel, give us a look, and if you really like it, yes, if you really, really like it, you can subscribe.